Hi, my name is Sandra. I am reading my next manuscript called Raising Ripples. Raising Ripples. Chapter 1. Ripples. Jessica Jumper missed the best days of school. The days where all kids do is games and teachers hand out special papers with their names on it in fancy paint. Ripples and her played every day. They had been best friends for 3 years. Then one day she was gone. Her parents didn't say anything, not to the school, not to their neighbors, and not to Ripples, her best friend. She was just gone. Her sisters and brothers wouldn't talk about her anymore, and the teachers wouldn't answer questions. So Ripples kept asking. Ripples asked lots of people. He had asked every market table person and every store between her house and his. Nobody had seen her. Now he was going to visit the Safety Authority office on his second day of summer vacation. He walked into the log building on the far side of the pond. It was a large pond. Some said it was actually closer to a small lake, and it took a long time to walk. Ripple's legs were short, and his shell was heavy, so he moved kind of slow. But his dad often said, "Slow and steady wins the race." Ripples wasn't sure what race his dad was talking about, but he was always saying it anyway. So Ripples kept a steady pace. "Excuse me." Ripples stretched his neck out to look over the counter. His fingers gripped the edge to pull himself up a little more. "Excuse me." "So what can I do for you? Are you lost?" The voice boomed down at him from a very large, heavy head. Ripples thought the thick ruff of fur around his neck looked very warm for this time of year. He looked familiar, but in a scary kind of way. Ripples tucked his head down under the lip of his shell. "Buff, you're scaring the kid. Let me talk to him." A gentler female voice came from further back. "Sure, but you're just as scary." The giant head backed up, and a woman with a small pointed face leaned over the edge. "No reason to be scared anymore. Officer Buff is gone. Now what can I do for you?" The black-haired woman asked. Ripples tried to stand up a little straighter and extended his neck a little, but not too far, just in case. "I need help finding my friend Jessica." His voice came out a little soft, but the woman was listening closely. "Jessica, eh? Can you describe what she looks like?" The woman pulled something close across the countertop and then looked around. "Why don't you come sit down and we can talk? All the way to the end here. Here's a stool to sit on." She led him to a desk and pulled out her own stool on the other side. Ripples climbed up and leaned his elbows on her desk. Jessica didn't come to school for the last week of school, and I can't find her at all. She's missing," Ripples told the lady with very long hair. Ripples thought the white stripe that ran all the way down to her tail was kind of cool looking. Ripples' family didn't have hair, only shiny heads. The lady pulled out soft paper, like the kind his mom made, and an ink pot from beneath the desk. "My name is Sadie. What's yours?" she asked. "I'm Ripples from North Edge. We're on the bay." She nodded and wrote it down. Ripples could recognize his own name and address already. "You are a long way from home. Do your parents know you're here?" He shook his head. "You're from the bay? That's a nice place to live, I hear. Lots of kids and a nice field out back. Do you play ball out there?" Ripples shook his head quickly. He did, but this was wasting time, and Jessica was missing. "Jessica is from Old Docks, the muddy side," Ripples continued. "She goes to my school and was in my class all year. We're going to be seconds this year. I saw her last week, and then she didn't come to school for the fun days at the end of the year. She's missing." Ripples gave the lady all the important information. Now maybe she would get started with looking. "Maybe she's sick or forgot to come or was busy with her family. Did you check at her house?" Officer Sadie asked, but Ripples saw that she hadn't written any more things down. "I asked her sisters and her 2 brothers yesterday. They're littler than she is and wouldn't tell me anything. Her mom said she wasn't home. I asked the teacher on the last day what class she would be in, but he said there wasn't anyone on his list with the name Jessica. I even asked her neighbors. They haven't seen her either. Jessica is my best friend. I checked all the places we play, and nobody knows where she is. I'm supposed to tell you so that you can help find her." Ripples strained his neck toward her, trying to make her understand. Officer Sadie tapped the feather tip on the paper, thinking, "Just wait here." She got up and went to talk to the really big-headed guy who was at the other desk. Ripples remembered that he was the one who had brought his sister home a few weeks ago. He could just hear their whispers, but not their words. The big-headed guy leaned back and looked at Ripples. Then he shook his head and shrugged his equally enormous shoulders. That person made his sister look short, and she wasn't small at all. Ripples tried not to squirm. Officer Sadie came back. "Nobody has reported any kids missing recently. I'm not sure what else I can do for you. You can write down her description and her mom's name and her address so you can check it out. That's what happens in my dad's detective stories, the ones he hears at the pub. Safety officers are like detectives, right?" Ripple was using his loud voice now. Okay, I will write it all down. What does Jessica Jumper look like?" "She has silver eyes and really dark, shiny skin. She has flippers and long legs. She's taller than me. She likes to dance and sing, but her dresses are always old." Ripples waited while the lady wrote it all down. "Her mom's name is Frida, and her dad is Frank, but he isn't always home. I think he works on the road. She has 6 sisters and 2 brothers, and they're all younger than she is. We are both almost 8 years old." Ripples was pretty sure the lady was writing down more than he had said. That was probably good. "Okay, I have it down. How about I bring you home now, and maybe I go talk to Jessica's mom too? It's supper time, and I'm sure your parents are worried." She guided him outside with a quick wave to her partner. "Have you ever ridden on a bike before? No? That's okay. Just put on the helmet and hold on to me." Ripples did as he was told, but now he worried about how mad his parents were going to be. He watched Officer Sadie pedal. He had done everything he could, right? He asked everyone. He told the authorities. Now they would go out and investigate, right? Ripples hoped so. He missed Jessica a lot. Chapter 2. Foxy. The image in the mirror met her approval. The 2 shades of pink paint she had lifted from her dad's warehouse complemented her scaly skin nicely. She applied them to her eyelids and cheekbones. They gave her smooth, flat head definition, instead of being a really plain black, dark blue all over. She added her silver choker around her neck, 2 upper arm bracelets, and the matching linked belt wrapped loosely around her waist. Her only clothing was black wrap skirt at her hips and a loose black t-shirt that stopped well above her waist. Her mother wouldn't approve. The complex, colorful design on the front was her own work. Edgy and angry, her trademark. The purse she slung across her body had a similar design. She slithered the lower half of her body out the door and toward the eating area. A canopy covered the group of tables, and several campers were already seated and enjoying breakfast. Foxy lined up at the buffet table, her long tail sliding behind her. The food choices were pretty good so far, a jar of live crickets, as well as some fried snails and some kind of meat patties. The meat was labeled and under a dome lid. Apparently not everyone was okay with a carnivorous diet, but Foxy had seen a couple of dark-skinned people enjoying the same breakfast menu. She also took a grain biscuit and a piece of fruit. She was supposed to try other flavors while she was here, too. She had arrived really late last night, as the trip took 2 full days to get here. It would have been really boring, but she had brought her stolen paper and charcoal sticks. Drawing was her thing. She had arrived really late last night, as the trip took 2 full days to get here. It would have been really boring, but she had brought her stolen paper and charcoal sticks. Drawing was her thing. She liked using the paints and dyes that her dad mixed as well, when she could get them. Combine that with the paper her mom produced in the warehouse behind their house, she was all set. Foxy sat down by herself at the end of the nearly empty table and pulled out her paper and sticks, one hand for eating and one for drawing. Her parents hated it, but no parents here. The other person at the table slid down the bench and brought his heaping plate with him. He was small, light-browned, and furry with upright ears. If Foxy had ears like that, they would have been pierced 6 times already, but her smooth, scaly skin didn't really allow for piercing, so she used paints instead. "What you drawing?" the kid asked. Foxy was sure he was younger than her 16 years, probably not much older than her little brother. "Trees, right now. Don't have too many of these kinds of trees where I come from. Loads of trees, just not this kind of dense forest." He seemed a little confused about this. Forests at home are all tra-la-la, happy picnic places. A forest like this, though, is dark and spooky. She lowered her voice like the story she told her kid brother. "Yeah, a dark and spooky forest, maybe with monsters lurking in the deep, ready to steal unsuspecting little kids." She flicked her tongue at the kid, and then went back to drawing as if the scary part hadn't happened. "So trees first, then we'll see." He laughed. "Forests don't have monsters around here," he explained, his clawed hand creeping dramatically toward the trees on her page. "Though they can hide some pretty scary things in my experience," he said with a knowing nod. He spooned some slippery bubble-like things in a sauce. "Where are you from?" the rodent boy asked. "Pond Town, north end of Western Lakes area. Took 2 days to get here," Foxy explained, then asked him back, "So how about you? You from here, the forest?" He shrugged, and Foxy realized that he had some kind of wings attached under his arms. "Or are you what they call a winger from high up in the mountain trees?" "Wings, yes. Mountain, yes. Trees, definitely. A bit of all over. I spent this last winter under the mountain, which was cool, or warm, actually. Used to live in the bog, but now I travel around a bit." He used his biscuit to wipe up the last of the sauces on his plate. Foxy crunched her last cricket and packed up her paper. "How old are you? I thought you were a little kid, actually," she wondered as they got up to return their trays. "I'm 13, but I was here at camp last year, too. Made some very good friends. Had some adventures. It was mostly good." His nose and ears twitched with the memory. "I haven't seen anyone like you around before. The snake-tail without legs is a bit different. Is it normal where you come from?" He turned the conversation back to her. He actually was really easy to talk to and seemed much older than his age. "My mom looks like me. My dad has a shell, turtle style, same as my little brother. There are other shell people, but my mom and I are the only ones that look exactly like this. A few of my friends have fishtails, like some of the people I've seen here, or fins, too. People are all different where I come from, but it's never a big deal. The cool people are the ones that change." She found herself talking a lot more than usual. Foxy usually went for the sneering, silent persona. "I have never met someone exactly like me. Neither of my parents look like me, either. My mom is one that changes, though. She's under the dome. You know, current crossings." This kid really did get around. "I have only vaguely heard of the domes. It's where new tech comes from. Our school has a tablet that can talk to the other schools in the lakes nearby, but the signal to the domes is too weak. We're too far inland, but maybe one day. At least that's what the messenger told us when he brought the tablets. Maybe when the road is cleared and completed, we can get more things sent to us." She followed the kid to the beach, and they sat on a bench while waiting for the counselors to take charge. Foxy looked out over the water. She couldn't see the other side. Her tail shifted nervously in front of her. It was really big. People living underneath? She wondered if there were still people on the other side. Foxy had never heard of anyone who had crossed it. She wondered why anyone would. "Do you swim?" he asked. "I can, but prefer not to. You?" "Nope. Tried and have no interest in trying again." The boy shook his head. "I'm Foxy, by the way. Do you know what we're doing today?" "I'm Taro. I think it's hiking and climbing, maybe beach time later. They'll let us know after lunch. Are you okay with, hiking? He was looking at her bottom half. I get around quite fine, thank you. She gave a snooty glance. I may even be faster than you. She laughed with a hiss and continued to brag. I also climb quite well, too. He seemed impressed. The counselors called everyone over. She got up and slithered to stand between Taro and a girl with rough, spiky skin. Foxy admired her thick, dominant eye ridges. They would be super cool, painted or pierced. Hi, I'm Plessy, with an I. The girl extended a hand, which Foxy took and shook with a weird look of extremely proper-dressed girl. The collar of her longer-than-knees dress was buttoned right to the top. I'm actually your cabin mate, but I must have been sleeping when you came in last night, and I left early for breakfast. Foxy let out a low, hissing chuckle. The girl turned back to listen dutifully to the adults. She was not at all the type Foxy hung around with normally. Foxy looked over at Taro. Nope, he wasn't either. She looked over the crowd to see if there was anyone else that looked like her kind of people. Bored expressions, edgy clothes, no good on their mind. Nope, no one like that here, it seemed. Foxy sighed a little. She listened up a little as the counselor suggested the art cabin for those who didn't want time at the beach. Art could be interesting. She would definitely check that out. A whole season here was going to be a little challenging, but she hadn't really been given a choice. Exams had been finished, but school wasn't over yet when her and her friends had hung out late and come up with the idea. They were going to make their mark on society, quite literally. She had picked the lock on her dad's warehouse and grabbed a few buckets of paint, not really caring what color. They had hauled the supplies all the way up the basin side and arrived at the grand old library after high moon. They built the fire to see by and started painting the broad side of the building. It was one of the few places made with some kind of stone. It was old, older than the trees. Her parents had insisted she attend camp this year. Last year she had fought them and won, but her dad said she needed a positive influence instead of her regular friends, especially after the library incident. It had gone a little too far, but she wasn't admitting that to anyone. Her parents hoped she would tone down the rebel over the summer. Foxy didn't think that was going